Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Smith, and I am a clinical psychology PsyD student at the California School of Professional Psychology at Alliant International University, San Diego. Today, we're going to be reviewing the Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, or ACT, mindfulness tool called Dropping Anchor. This tool is versatile and it's generalizable to various situations. It is a simple yet powerful technique for contacting the present moment. Some of the goals of Dropping Anchor is to help our clients become fully present, help them engage in what they're doing, help them to regain control over their actions, and help them to focus on what's most important in the here and now. There are 3 good indicators for Dropping Anchor. So these are indicators a clinician can pay attention to when looking for clients who could benefit from this tool. One indicator is a client that comes to session with a desire to learn a simple mindfulness skill that serves as a good foundation for ACT and the work you will be doing together. Another indicator is if, as a clinician, you notice your client is so fused that they're unable to engage or participate in the session. This would be a good time to pause the session, introduce Dropping Anchor if you haven't before, and practice the tool with the client while in session. A third indicator is if a client is emotionally overwhelmed, if they often act impulsively or compulsively, or if they dissociate. Each of these client profiles would be a good fit for Dropping Anchor, and they would likely benefit from this exercise. After deciding a client would be a good fit for this exercise or likely benefit, an effective way of introducing Dropping Anchor is through the emotional storm metaphor. An example of how to use this metaphor in session is as follows. So say a client comes in and reports feeling their emotions so intensely throughout their whole body and describes it as something churning inside of them. The therapist can provide validation and reflective listening by saying, it sounds like they have all these feelings whirling around, like an emotional storm is brewing inside of them. They seem to feel like they are being swept up by that storm and don't believe there is anything effective they can do. They're just at the mercy of the elements. The client may then agree and say something along the lines of, this is exactly how I feel. And then the therapist can ask the client to imagine they're on a boat, and as the boat sails into the harbor, a huge storm is brewing. The therapist can ask the client what their priority would be in that situation once getting to the harbor. The client may say the priority would be to tie the boat up, and the therapist would say yes, of course, or to drop an anchor as fast as possible. The therapist can then make the connection to humans by saying that emotional storms can brew inside of us, and the first thing we need to do is drop anchor. We drop anchor not to make the storm go away, but to hold us steady until the storm passes. When explaining the Dropping Anchor tool to clients, it's beneficial to break it up into 3 parts. First, the client is to acknowledge their inner experience. Second, they are to come back into their own bodies. Third, they are encouraged to engage with the world around them. These 3 steps are known in the ACT world as the acronym ACE and will each be explained in depth on the following slides. The first step to Dropping Anchor is acknowledging your inner experience. This is the step where we want to encourage our clients to really take time to pay attention to the thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, sensations, and urges that are coming up for them in the moment. It's helpful to acknowledge these things out loud. For example, we may ask our clients to describe the feelings that are coming up by saying something along the lines of, here comes fear or here comes anger. This also goes along with diffusing from our cognitions. The second part of Dropping Anchor is coming back into your body. The aim here is to help our clients regain a sense of self-control by focusing on what they have the most control over when difficult thoughts and feelings are present, which are their physical actions. There are various ways we can help our clients come back into their bodies. We can ask them to move. We can ask them to stand up. We can ask them to stretch, sit upright, walk, change posture, alter their breathing or practice a breathing exercise with them. We can ask them to push their feet to the floor or wiggle their fingers or toes, or just simply straighten their spine. These are all ways we can kind of help our clients get back into their bodies and help them feel like they have some sort of control over kind of the overwhelming thoughts and emotions that they're going through. The third part of dropping anchor is engaging with the world around us. So the aim here is to expand our clients' awareness by encouraging them to take a moment to notice where they are, to notice what they're doing, and to notice what they can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. Well, at this point, we've discussed the goals and aims of dropping anchor, indicators for usefulness, how to introduce this tool by using the emotional storm metaphor, and we went into specific detail about each step in the dropping anchor process. Now it's time to talk about the when and how of dropping anchor. When and how can we apply this as clinicians? It's important to note that this is one of the most versatile skills in ACT and can be utilized to lay foundations for all the core ACT processes. Specifically, the ACE formula maps out the ACT triflex fairly well. Encouraging our clients to acknowledge their inner experience can be the first step to openness. Assisting our clients in coming back into their bodies can be a first step in preparing to do what matters to them. And helping our clients more effectively engage with the world teaches them how to be present. Therefore, dropping anchor is a great intervention for many types of problems. It can be utilized when a client is experiencing stormy weather, if we want to go back to referencing the emotional storm metaphor, or it can be used when they're also experiencing fine weather. If in stormy weather, the client can find relief from emotional distress and overwhelming thoughts or feelings, and if in fine weather, this exercise can simply help our clients maintain mindfulness throughout their day and assist in bringing them back to the present moment whenever they feel themselves getting distracted or drifting off. I want to leave you today with two specific examples of how this exercise can be used in session with clients. First, we'll discuss a client experiencing stormy weather. So a client may come into session and express feeling very anxious, feeling like their heart is beating out of their chest and that their mind won't stop racing, causing them to struggle to focus on session. The therapist can suggest dropping anchor and ask the client to tell them what thoughts or feelings were coming up for them right at that moment. The therapist may also ask the client to practice pushing their feet on the ground while they describe these feelings and thoughts, which touches on the first and second steps in dropping anchor. The first being the A in the ACE acronym, acknowledging inner experiences and their feelings. And the second being the C in the ACE acronym, which helps bring them back into their bodies. The client then has space to acknowledge their feelings and may describe stress and noticing feelings of fear and panic. The therapist can then ask the client to say out loud something they can see, hear, and smell. The therapist can then encourage the client to pick up a nearby object. In this example, it's food, and describe how the object feels to them. And also in this example, we can ask the client to open up the candy wrapper and to try it, and it kind of explain the taste that they're experiencing. After doing an exercise like this, I think it's always good practice to debrief with the clients and kind of ask how they felt about it. Did they feel like it was effective? Why or why not? I think this really helps practice person-centered care. It helps improve the therapeutic alliance, and it helps just further develop future sessions and work. The last example I would like to leave you with is an example of a client practicing dropping anchor while experiencing fine weather. This is an example of a client I have who is a young boy that struggles in school. He came to session one day and reported noticing himself zoning out often in class. He said it was affecting his grades, and his teachers were beginning to get mad because he was so easily distracted. I had previously introduced dropping anchor to this client, and he had used it when in stormy weather or experiencing emotional distress and found it to be effective. I thought this would be a good opportunity to reintroduce this exercise and asked if, while in class and feeling like he was not engaged, he would feel comfortable dropping an anchor. I encouraged him to acknowledge whatever thoughts and feelings were capturing his attention in that moment, and then encouraged him to come back into his body, either through pushing his feet really hard to the ground or wiggling his fingers. And then I asked him to take a second to notice the world around him. So where was he? What was he doing? Or what was he supposed to be doing? I then encouraged him to refocus his attention on class. He agreed to give this a shot and found the next time he found himself drifting off in class, he tried it and he reported back the following week stating it was helpful. As weeks went on, he came back in a session and he told me that as he was more actively engaged in his classes, he reported feeling like his teachers were finally starting to like him a little bit more. And that's my presentation on dropping anchor. Thank you very much for listening.